Hello and welcome. This is an English lesson for the 4th grade of high school. The title of the lesson is Travel, Tourism, Migration, and my name is Lana Kovač. In this lesson, you're going to analyze the text about and discuss different types of travelers, different types of tourism, especially responsible tourism, and environmental migrants. For this lesson, you will need something to write with, a notebook, a device with internet access, QR code scanner, and don't forget you can pause the video and replay it whenever you want and as many times as you want. As the topic of the lesson is travel, tourism, migration, can you think of what the difference between a traveler and a tourist might be? And write it down in a sentence or two into your notebooks. Follow the link or scan the QR code to open and do the task and see whether you were right. The key will be on the following slide. And here is the key. Pause the video so you have time to read all the answers. Some people consider the differentiation between a traveler and a tourist as travel snobbery, in the sense of those who consider themselves travelers belittling tourists. Follow the link below or scan the code to find out what travel blogger Hand Luggage Only says about it and do the task. And here is the key. Do you think there are different types of travelers? And if so, what are they? Write down your ideas into your notebook and then follow the link or scan the QR code to read the text and do the task. And here is the key. Prepare a short speech by answering the following questions. Make sure you explain and give examples for everything you say. The checklist is on the following slide. Record yourself and send the speech to your teacher. And here is the checklist. If you haven't included some of the following things in your speech, go back to it and make sure you do so. As everything else, tourism has its dark side too. So let's think about the problems that tourism might cause. Some of those problems are overcrowding, overbuilding, loss of animal habitats and species, environmental issues, displacement of local people, and local population not benefiting from tourism. This is why it's important to be a responsible tourist. What do you think you do or don't do if you are a responsible tourist? Think of several things. You're now going to watch a video by Dr. Harold Goodwin, an expert on responsible tourism, who in this video explains what responsible tourism is, the difference between sustainable tourism and responsible tourism, and names 7 key principles of responsible tourism and gives examples. So pay extra attention to the 7 key principles of responsible tourism and the examples he gives. Having watched the video, answer the following questions and write the answers down into your notebook. What is the simplest way of explaining what responsible tourism is? According to Dr. Goodwin, what is sustainable tourism? What do all the parties involved in tourism need to do? What examples of a problem and solutions does Dr. Goodwin give? What is the first principle of responsible tourism? What is the example for the third principle? What is the fourth principle, and what place is given as a good example? What is the example for the seventh principle? What should you ask yourself as a tourist? And what does greenwashing mean? Google it. Follow the link or scan the QR code to read the answers to the questions on the previous slide. Let's research a bit more about different types of tourism. So follow the link or scan the QR code to read the text and make sure you do all the tasks. Follow the link or scan the QR code to read the key. In this lesson, there are two tasks to prepare a speech. The second one is on slide 28. So once you've come to the end of the lesson, you can choose which speech you want to prepare. You can either prepare only a speech or include a PowerPoint presentation for it. For your first task, I would like you to think of some specific problems tourism might be causing in Croatia. I'd like you to name at least 3 of those problems and think of some possible solutions, at least one for each problem. After that, choose a tourist destination in Croatia, go back to the 7 principles of responsible tourism, and try to give specific examples for each one of the principles for the place you have chosen. The checklist is on the following slide. After you have prepared your speech, record yourself and send it to your teacher. And here is the checklist. In my speech, I have named at least 3 specific problems tourism is causing in Croatia. I have suggested at least one solution to each problem, and I have given 7 specific examples for each of the 7 key principles of responsible tourism and applied them to a tourist destination in Croatia. If you haven't included some of these things in your speech, make sure you go back to it and improve it. Moving on to the third part of our lesson, which is about migration. So, who are migrants and why do people migrate? According to the UN, a migrant is a person who moves away from his or her place of usual residence, whether within a country or across an international border, temporarily or permanently, and for a variety of reasons. Some of those reasons are poverty, conflict, politics, natural disasters, unemployment, and high crime rates. Were you right about who a migrant is? And did you mention some of these reasons for why people migrate? Today we are going to look closely at environmental migrants. Do you know who they are and what environmental issues might make people migrate? We could say that environmental migrants are people who are forced to leave their home due to sudden or long-term changes to their local environment. And some environmental issues that might make people migrate are flooding, drought, crop failure, islands sinking, loss of employment due to climate change, and loss of resources. Follow the link or scan the QR code to read the text on climate crisis and migration and do the task. And here is the key. One is E. In the previous sentence, the article explains how climate migrants are referred to as climate refugees. Sentence E states an opposing idea, how they are not legally considered that, and, however, introduces a contrast. 2 is G. The previous sentence mentions people leaving their homes for certain climate stresses. These people at the beginning of sentence G refer to the people mentioned in the first sentence of that paragraph. 3 is A. Sentence A, where rural areas are mentioned, is in contrast with the following one, which mentions urban areas. 4 is B. The previous sentence of the paragraph names reasons why migration happens, and this in sentence B refers to those reasons. And 5 is D, because people are already moving, underlines the reality mentioned in the title of the paragraph, and some examples of climate stresses are mentioned in the following sentence. As I said before, there are 2 speaking tasks in this lesson. So you can choose between this one or the one on slide 20. You can also prepare only a speech or include a PowerPoint presentation for it. For this task, I would like you to do some research and report on a country where people were forced to migrate from because of some climate stresses. In your speech, you should say what the climate stressor in the specific place is, how long and in what ways it has been affecting the country, what the consequences for the people living there are, and what possible solutions, if any, there might be. The checklist is on the following slide, so make sure you include everything in your speech. After you have done it, record yourself and send the speech to your teacher. And here is the checklist. The following things are all the things that you should have included in your speech. If you haven't, go back to it and make sure you do so. And we've come to the end of the lesson. Before you leave, make sure you tick the right column in the table and check out the links on the following slide. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson as much as I have. Have a nice rest of the day and see you next time.